Hi, it's Rachel here. Thanks ever so much for joining us on day one of our 30 days of going inside because we can't go outside. And the key word for today is integration. In order for us to thrive as human beings, we need to have an integrated brain. So I'm going to use Dan Siegel's handy model of the brain to help explore those different areas of the brain with you. And I'm going to set down a challenge for you to explain this to somebody else in your family at the end of this video to check your understanding of it. So, Dan Siegel is a very, very impressive American psychiatrist, and I use his work a lot when explaining how the brain functions and how to live well with yours to younger people and to adults alike. So this is the handy model of the brain, and if you want to, do follow this by putting up your fist in front of the screen too. There are four main parts to this brain. The first one here is the neck that encases the spinal cord. Then we have this part of the brain as represented by the palm, and that's the reptilian brain, which is about 300 million years old. This is the part that's responsible for involuntary bodily functions such as breathing and body temperature. Those are the bits that keep us alive. So this is the survival part of the brain as represented by the palm. The next part of the brain is the mammalian brain, or the limbic system. And this is the bit that's responsible for safety. We also have the amygdala that's stored in here, which works with our palm, our reptilian brain, in order to create our fight, flight and freeze response. But also the amygdala is sitting next to the hippocampus, and it's in the hippocampus, which is represented by your thumbnail there, that actually our memories are stored, and the hippocampus links our memories to our experiences. And that's where they're stored. So these two parts work together to create emotions. But the mammalian brain does another couple of very important things too. One of them is that it's kind of our appraisal centre. It's where our motivation lies. It kind of scours our environment and it kind of looks at things and thinks, is that something that I need to give more attention to? Or is this something that I should steer clear of? Is this something that's good for me, like dark chocolate? Or is this something that's bad for me, like a scalding hot bath? So it constantly appraises and decides where we should move our attention to. But also it's called the mammalian brain because our attachment lies here too. This is the part of our brain that scours our environment looking for caregivers, individuals that we can hook up with to keep us safe. And the mammalian part of the brain is 200 million years old. So if you imagine going back that far, being part of a tribe or being part of a group was actually the key to survival. And we still have that part of our brain very active even now. The next part that I want to introduce you to is the human brain. So if you can curl your fingers over there like that, it's this human brain, this prefrontal cortex, which is the bit behind your forehead, that is actually the rational and reasonable part of your brain. The bit that your dog doesn't have. The bit that has language in it, the bit that's able to make wise choices and decisions. This is the bit that can draw on our past, apply it to our present, and accurately forecast our future. So this is the bit that enables us to pause before we do something really stupid, where empathy is stored, okay, where our morality is stored too. So I want you to notice something about this brain. I want you to notice that all of those three parts, the reptilian, mammalian and human, are all touching. And it's this downstairs part of our brain, the mammalian and the reptilian, where emotions are formed. And very often when big emotions show up in our body and get to this bit, and either we decide that we're in real danger or we decide that we're not safe, then what we tend to do as humans is we flip our lid, which is a natural and normal response to danger. However, we often flip our lids when there is a perceived danger rather than a real one. And sometimes we can even flip our lids because we have an unkind thought about ourselves, such as I am stupid. Okay? So when we flipped our lid, we're in a very vulnerable emotional state. and we're not really capable of making wise choices. We can't really draw on all of those memories to actually inform us about making wise choices. In some respects, we go back to factory settings. So I want you to think about the last time that you flipped your lid. And I want you to see if you can kind of work out what the trigger for that was. And actually, what we're going to do on this 30-day journey is we're actually going to be really focusing on this hinge here. And a lot of the exercises that we're going to do day to day are going to be how to strengthen that hinge so that when life gets difficult, which it is at the moment, and big emotions show up, which they do for all of us at the moment, that we're actually able to regulate, bring some awareness to having a flip lid, and understand the skills that we can actually use to put our lid back on again. And one last thing before I go. When you're dealing with younger children and teaching them about their brain, very often this is a simple model that allows us to say that when an emotion shows up, we need to give it a hug. And if you've had any disagreements in your house recently, I want you to think about the last time where maybe you were talking to somebody, you flipped your lid and they flipped theirs, and kind of afterwards when things are naturally calmer, see if you can remember what the content of that argument was. Because actually, when you're talking to somebody who's got a flip lid or you flipped yours, that is not an opportunity to have a meaningful conversation with somebody. There is no connection. It is ultimately pointless. So in order to have a meaningful conversation, in order to redirect somebody's behaviour, we actually need to have our lids back on. So tomorrow, for day 2, we're going to be looking at connection, how you can actually get your lid back on again when you flipped your lid, and we're going to look at our top ways together, and I'm going to do that with Lou. So I really look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Many thanks and stay safe.